Yeah, so we're looking at Nutjitsu from Ninja Beast Studios, makers of A World for Keflings and Band of Bugs, a few other games. Let's see what we can do. You have two different modes to play, Ninja Missions and Survival. And Ninja Missions, basically you have this mix of game variables. You can pick a difficulty between 5 different difficulties. Anything above 1 gets decently hard, I would say. You don't have to play on the higher difficulties most of the time, though. And let's see. If you, in this mode, Ninja Missions mode, it picks a mission, which is like an objective, and it picks a level for you. And if you don't like those things that it picks, you can just push this, and it will change it to something else. So let's hop into the game and see what that's like. Yeah, Ninja B does make some great games. This is a much smaller scale game for them. Like, I would say the simplest game they've ever released. So don't think it's very much like A World for Keflings or anything. But it is still a charming little game if you like old school arcade games. So I'm a ninja squirrel and I'm trying to collect the acorns, whereas these foxes, these kitsune, are trying to stop me. You can see I leave a little trail behind me, a footprint trail. That's like the sound and your actual footprints. And if a guard sees them, then they will start chasing you, like that guy is doing now. Time to run. Probably that wasn't... Oh, it worked out okay. So I'm looking for these secret scrolls. There it is, up there. Basically, they look like canisters of mutagenic ooze from the Ninja Turtles series. So let's catch some mutagen. Push B, I could freeze all the enemies and run past them. You have a limited number of items. You cannot pick up more during the level or anything like that. Looks like this guy leaves a poison cloud behind him. Gotta watch out for that. So my objective here is to collect 5 of these. And if I had it on higher difficulty, then I just have to collect a greater number. And the reason it gets so much harder on higher difficulties is because the enemies... Uh-oh, the poison is slowing me down. Yeah, on higher difficulty... I mean, the longer you play, the more enemies spawn, basically. So if you have an objective that takes longer, then it's going to be harder just because eventually the enemies will outnumber you. I mean, they already outnumber me, but they will eventually overwhelm you. And nobody likes to be overwhelmed. Nobody that I know. Except for maybe Tyler. He's into some weird things. By the way, tonight we have Tyler H1701 on moderation duty. Joining him is Derek Does It, our other regular moderator. And they're both really cool guys. You should follow them both on Twitch, especially Tyler. He does a lot of PlayStation 4 game streaming. That went okay. I could choose to redo it. Let's go to the shop. See, like, these things, they unlock as you get farther in the game. You have an experience system, I guess, and so you level up as you play, and that's what gives the game long-term play value. I've already done all that, but you can, let's see, buy extra power-up capacity. Yes, I will buy that. And I believe that's a permanent upgrade. Then how about this loadout slot? Another permanent upgrade. Can you believe I didn't have those already? And that way I can take more items into a level. But those items, they all cost actual coins. And that, to me, is a little bit annoying. Like, I would rather just have them without having to worry about the currency. But on Windows 8, this started as a free-to-play game. And oddly, they did not change the game design when they switched it over to a paid game. So it still plays a little bit like a free-to-play game. But it wasn't an especially greedy game to begin with. Lurk in the magic area for 30 seconds. So it's kind of like King of the Hill or something. This is the magic area. Changes color while you're inside it. That's cool. I think it will disappear after I'm in it long enough. You see the meter over there, it's counting down. Yep, here we go. By the way, I'm going to show you something somewhat cool real quick. I can actually snap an app, and here's what we're going to snap. Come on, Xbox One, don't be so slow. Gave me an Xbox 360 flashback there. But look at that. I can snap Nutjitsu and then do something else. The only question is, why would you ever want to do this? You could be watching a show, I guess, and snap Nutjitsu off to the side. The thing is, you cannot actually play it while it's snapped, I don't think. Nope. Push any button and it just takes back up the full screen. So this was an early attempt at snapping an app, but it doesn't really have a point. Because you can already jump back and forth between a show and a game. And, you know, like if you're only interacting with one in the first place, then it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't need to watch Nutjitsu while it's paused. That doesn't relay any valuable information to me. But there is another downloadable Xbox One game called Threes. And Threes can actually be played snapped, and there actually is a real point to that. Because what I'll do is I'll be watching something on Hulu and have Threes not even big or anything, you know, like, I mean, I won't be looking at Threes, just watching something on Hulu. A commercial break comes up, because Hulu has those darn commercial breaks. Then I quickly snap Threes and play it snapped while the commercial plays, and that way I can know that the commercial is going on. Then when the commercial ends, I just unsnap it and watch the show. And then you can do that back and forth. And it's like much better than actually having to pay attention to the dumb commercials, right? Alright, we completed the mission. Matt Lebeau asks how I liked Contrast, and the answer is that I like it a lot. It's very artistic. It has pretty good 3D graphics for an indie game. And it's, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Contrast was actually one of the very first games we played on our stream. I think we did that the second weekend maybe, or the third weekend. I never quite beat it though. I think I'm like 2/3 of the way through it. So I should really go back to that. Collect and deliver 10 acorns. It tells you how much experience you get. If you try a harder difficulty level, then you're going to get more experience. And see, I take the acorns to this little bag. That's my destination, because I'm stealing them, you know? Here's what Ninja Bee should have done when they brought this to Xbox One. They should have added an actual story mode. Like, this type of game design is a simple game design, but it could support a story mode. You know, like, they have cute characters, it's a cute premise. All it needs is a little bit more structure, you know, like, just playing for points and to try to level up is not bad, but it could have been more, you know? Like, especially if you're going to bring a tablet game to the console anyway, I think some improvements are in order. But no, this is exactly the same game that it was on Windows 8. There are no new features as far as I know. And I was a little bit disappointed by that. Like, I still enjoyed the game, especially for the price. Because this particular game, Nutjitsu, it's only $7. Still an affordable game. The Xbox Live achievements are pretty easy to get. You can get them all in about 5 hours if you use the right strategy. 5 acorns of the chosen color. And let's put that on a higher, we're going to go up 1 difficulty. So I need to get the green ones. The others give me points, but they don't contribute towards my goal. But the color will change after that meter runs out. Let's just go get this one. Thank you. 4 out of 10, not doing poorly. Let's see what it changes to. Red. But who knows, maybe Ninja Bee will eventually do a sequel to this and they'll put a little bit more time into it. But this was always intended to be a small-scale game for them, and so you can't expect too much. But still, you know, as a game critic, an avid gamer, I can't help wanting a little bit more. I mean, I always want more with everything, but some games give you way more than you could ever ask for, and other games leave you wanting a little bit. or a lot, depending on the game. Silver. Have you guys ever eaten an acorn? They don't taste all that good. Also, I can't remember, they might be poisonous. If anybody knows a lot about plants, they'll have to fill us in on that. If they are poisonous, though, then you definitely shouldn't eat them. So don't. At least that's my recommendation. You don't have to listen to me, but I do care about you guys. Mr. Tato was asking about next Saturday. We are playing Strider at the usual streaming time, 8 p.m. That is set in stone. 8 p.m. Central, sorry. That is set in stone, but we might... will I be available to play anything earlier that day? Probably not, because I'm going to have my daughter that weekend. Yeah, the only bad thing about doing these streams on Saturdays is I always have something going on Saturday, whether it's work or family stuff, like alternating weekends. That's how it works for me. So in survival mode, you get your choice of levels. You have to unlock them by, again, leveling up. But you'll unlocked at rank 24. Wow, I actually haven't unlocked some of these. Can you believe it? But you don't have to unlock them all for the achievements, and that's why I stopped. But yeah, it's nice that you can pick your own level. Oh, I still have empty slots. No, I guess I better equip something. I got enough money for it. Look at that, 5 power-up slots. And you can assign them to buttons. Why can't I just direct... Oh, you can directly buy it. Push X to buy it. There's my smoke bomb. Then I need something on the B button. Shadow clone. Yes. So there we go. You know what? I'm going to buy 3. Sakura Grove. Sakura are cherry blossom trees. Something we do not have here where I live in Texas. I don't know if they can grow in this climate or not. You'd think there would be some at Herman Park if there were. Herman Park is Houston's big park. And they have like a really nice Japanese cultural area in that park. We do the Houston Japan Festival there every year. It's really great. And they might do Japan festivals in other big cities too, because there's the Japan America Society is like a national thing. And they have branches in the different big cities. Uh-oh. Run for it. So in case the name survival mode didn't clue you in survival mode it just goes on forever. You're not just playing until you reach a specific number of the goal. You're trying for points, in other words. This is how old school arcade games used to work. Some of our younger viewers, perhaps even Tyler H1701, were not around when arcade games were much of a thing. But yeah, I used to just play for points and that was it. Like, you just wanted to get the high score if you could, or see how long you could play on 1 credit. Modern games don't really work that way. Although mobile games often do, you know, endless runners and such, depending. And I turned into a block of wood. That's a ninja thing from anime and stuff, was that they could basically, you think you're stabbing them through, but it turns out you just stabbed a piece of wood somehow, like part of their ninja magic. Zero says that Shenmue 2 has lots of cherry blossoms. You know, I never played Shenmue 2. I have the first one on Dreamcast, but I just never got part 2. So maybe I'm part of the reason why there's not a part 3, huh? Shame on me. But you know, like, a lot of people fell in love with Shenmue, and I see a lot of great things about it. You know, like, I I love the graphical quality on the Dreamcast was amazing, and it's a really well developed world. However, I just never quite got into it the same way that other people do. And I think it's a little bit harder to go back to in today's modern post Grand Theft Auto 3 world. You know, like the Grand Theft Auto series does open world games so well and has so much content to them that other games just can't do as much. You know, they can't afford to do as much. It's not their fault. But if you only have a certain amount of time or patience for that genre, then you might just want to stick to the best things there are, which would be Grand Theft Auto or maybe to a lesser extent Saints Row. But then again, neither of those games is very Japanese, and Shenmue has this great Japanese charm. The bright, beautiful Sega colors. It's one of my favorite things about older Sega games is that they are so colorful. None of that brown or grim and gritty stuff. Let's go to Gira Cemetery. It's all foggy here. So you guys, as far as tonight's streaming games go, they're not the largest or most exciting games that we have streamed. They're very much an acquired taste. But they are both, like I said before, they are both really affordable. If you're good at them, then you can get the achievements relatively fast. Although I don't think I'll ever get all the achievements in 60-second Shooter Prime. But you know, even if these particular games aren't for you, we stream different games every single weekend. You know, like few other streams will give you as much variety as we have in our weekly stream because we always do something different. My own gaming tastes are fairly wide and varied. I'm not much of a competitive gamer, but I do play most genres except for sports for the most part. And yeah, like even if these games, even if a new downloadable Xbox One game wasn't for me, I'd probably try to get it anyway just so we could use it in the stream or show it on the site. Because I do a lot of Xbox coverage for our site, although I've been more focused on reviews, specific reviews lately. But it's really cool to be able to show you guys all these different things, and hopefully we can expose you to games that you wouldn't have otherwise known about, or perhaps you'll be convinced by seeing a game that it actually is for you, whereas you hadn't known that before. Teikoku no Yosai. Don't know what that means. Kung Fu. Nice, Tyler. Studied Japanese for 1 year back in 2005-ish. So unfortunately, I've forgotten a lot of it since then. I can still read some Japanese characters, but I also forget a few of those, much to my chagrin. Hopefully someday life will slow down enough that I can resume my studies. Oh, thank you, Matt Lebo. That's very kind of you to say. Yeah, just like I was saying, Matt Lebo approves of the stream's variety and the fellow chatters, and that makes me really happy. Like, when we started streaming a few months ago, we didn't really know exactly what it was going to be like. We hoped that we would get a lot of people to watch, and that was it. But it turns out we've just developed a really cool crowd, a bunch of people who enjoy games and are happy to talk about them, and who are all nice to each other. And I don't go to, you know, like I used to be a big IRC chatter, but I don't really go to public chats anymore. So this is my public chat experience, basically, is coming here to Twitch. And that's the coolest thing about Twitch, and people who haven't watched Twitch before maybe don't understand how much fun it can be just to talk to other people while a game is playing. You don't even have to be just, you don't just have to sit there and slavishly watch my stream. You know, you can listen to me talking, hopefully, but you're also interacting with your fellow commenters. And maybe I can interact with you a little bit while I do the stream. But you know, another thing is that I always like to stick around for a few minutes after the stream ends to chat with you guys. As a matter of fact, on Tuesday we stuck around a really long time. I believe it was 90 minutes after the stream ended. That was quite a unique streaming session for us. I mean, the chat part of it. Whole lot of fun. And can't do that tonight because I've got somewhere to be in just a little while, but I will stick around for a little bit to say hi to you guys in text chat. If you have the time, I hope you will still be here. We've got 5 more minutes left on the stream. Just going to keep avoiding the foxes. That's what it all comes down to, really. Oh, I was going to show you some of his powers, wasn't I? So I better do that. Let's see. Push Dex. Whoa! And look at that, I've got a shadow double. He follows the shadow double instead of me. Ah! B? What does B do? I think I'm just invincible for a little while. Oh, and I just ran into that guy like a dummy. Thank you, Derek. Yes, please follow me on Twitch, and also please follow our moderators. Our moderators are all really cool guys. Some of my good pals. Tyler I met through Cheap Ass Gamer. He used to be a Windows Phone fan, and I still run the Windows Phone thread there, although I'm not as into it as I used to be. Derek does it. I met right here in the Twitch stream, and he ended up being a valuable moderator. That's what can happen if you're a cool person, then maybe you'll get to know people. Then also tonight with mod privileges, we have Zero, yes. Zero, our Canadian moderator. He's visiting, and I don't think I saw Kal-El Can Fly tonight. But we've got a nice little regular crew of volunteer moderators. They're volunteers, they don't get paid. But they're really nice and they enjoy helping out. So I hope you guys will thank them and be sure to follow them as well. Earlier we were talking about Puyo Puyo Tetris. I've been playing that game a little more since the stream. I've gotten farther into the campaign. And hopefully I'd really like to give the game a more in-depth review. So hopefully I'll get the time to do that. I've got some free time coming up next week. It's going to be a little while. Oh, and here's another thing. I promised you guys an exclusive news thing about onigiri during Tuesday's stream. The news was not that we had a guide for it. You know, the guide to downloading and playing onigiri, the Japanese MMO for Xbox One. That is something I'm very proud of, but that wasn't the actual news. We still have a news story coming up about it, and I believe that's going to run tomorrow. So please head to windowscentral.com tomorrow, and you'll see at least a couple of stories from me, one of which will be our big onigiri exclusive, which I'll be very happy to share with you guys. Got an interview component to it and some very interesting information. And do I have anything else cool in the works? You know, that's a good question. I guess once more I will remind you that we have more games coming up. We have our schedule plotted out for 3 weeks. Next week, next Saturday, we are streaming Strider from Capcom. Week after that, Defense Grid 2, tower defense game, supports no, it doesn't support local, it supports online co-op. Although there's no reason game design-wise that it couldn't support local co-op, they just didn't do it. Then the week after that is Chariot, which does support local co-op and does not support online, but Chariot is really fun if you're into co-op. If you're not into co-op, you might find it a little too slow-paced. But with a friend, it really is a good cooperative experience. So we've got that coming up. And by the way, I was talking about thanking your moderators. the one thing you can do to thank me, besides showing up every time you can, is please leave a comment on the article about the stream. Like, I say this every time, so a lot of you already know it, but your comments on our articles actually help us out. They help our relationships with the game developer or publisher, and they help our bosses know that you're happy with the kind of stories we run. So please do comment on this story and any other stories you see by yours truly, and I will be ever so grateful. There is some local multiplayer with Defense Grid 2. Oh, okay, I was wrong. Cyber Knight says that Defense Grid 2 does have local multiplayer. I guess I just couldn't figure out when I messed with it. I wasn't the one who actually reviewed it for our site. So, I apologize. I will have to look more into that before we stream it. Or maybe during the stream. We'll see what happens. Good to see some gamers in the know in our channel. So we've come up to the 1 hour mark, you guys. My fox has just... No, my squirrel just got caught by the foxes. But he did his best. He collected some acorns, he collected some experience, and I'm that much closer to unlocking the final levels for survival mode. So tonight we showed you 60-Second Shooter Prime. That's a $5 game on Xbox One. And we showed you Nutjitsu, which is a $7 game on Xbox One. If you like them, please buy them.